It's about family, and that's what's so powerful about it.
Julia Ducournau's Titane is one of the most technically impressive and thematically determined films recently released. If you've just finished watching the film, then you might find yourself having a few questions. What exactly happened? Was this all to be taken literally or metaphorically? Does that even matter one way or the other? And also, was this secretly a supervillain origin story in disguise? Well, let's try to work through this together, shall we? But first, let's do a brief recap of the film's events. Alexia, as was shown at the beginning of the film, suffered a car accident as a child. Her skull needed to be rebuilt, and her brain seems to have been miswired as well. Supposedly, her messed up head predisposes her to care more for vehicles than for people. Her romantic encounters with humans end in bloody stabbings and bludgeonings, eventually spiraling into an outright massacre. Then the movie shifts. Alexia's story becomes entwined with that of a grieving father, Fire Captain Vincent, who for more than a decade has longed for the return of his lost son, Adrian. She disguises herself as the boy, shaving her head, taping down her breast, and breaking her nose. Thus, she hides in plain sight with Vincent, who's just happy that his son is back, despite the obvious truth of Adrian's actual identity. Titane is, in one instance, a body horror film about the transfiguration of a serial killer, and another, a dark comedy about the mechanics of pregnancy when the protagonist is impregnated by a car. Finally, mixed in is a father-son coming-of-age drama that's eerily heartwarming. Yes, you heard that right. Heartwarming. While the picture has been billed as one of the most shocking and provocative cinematic experiences in recent time, which is true, it's also a wholesome film about family. Because, let's face it, every movie about cars is secretly about family. Looking at you, Dom.
This is serious stuff. This is a 14-hour meditation on the importance of family, fast cars, product placement, racial ambiguity, and family.
But seriously, put aside all of the insane imagery pummeling your eyes, and one of the most interesting aspects of the film is its views towards family structure. This was a girl who needed a father, even though she already has a father, but we'll get to that. And Vincent needed a child after the loss of his own. Even when he finds out her true identity, it doesn't seem to matter. It's important to recognize that blood is not the only way to define such a bond. Sometimes you'll see stronger relationships form over time and through shared and personal experiences. It's appreciated that even in such a dark and twisted film, you get these tiny glimpses of tenderness. With that being said, these tiny glimpses of tenderness are indeed tiny. On the flip side, it's quite easy to see everyone in this film as selfish, seeking to fill a void through violent sex or surrogate family. The need for and the need to give love is on full display, but keep missing the mark. But while the family dynamics are definitely the core of all this, we've got to get into the thematic elements regarding the car pregnancy. If you dig into some Reddit comment sections, you'll come across many theories. For one, the movie seems to be saying something about sexualizing trauma, i.e. someone may be into choking for things they experienced in childhood. When Alexia does give birth, the baby is born with a titanium spine, which could be interpreted as generational trauma. The film might also be trying to say something about becoming codependent on your abuser. It's likely not a coincidence that the first time we see Alexia display affection towards cars is almost immediately after she gets injured by one. Since her accident, Alexia has turned into an unfeeling machine. She simply doesn't have the emotional machinery to process and feel her emotions. Even her murders are robotic, unfeeling, and mechanical. We don't know her sexual history, but it's clear that she doesn't connect psychologically with people. But she does have a psychosexual affinity for machines, and specifically cars. At the end of the film, Alexia goes into labor. She stumbles into bed with Vince. They tell each other, "I love you," and then she starts to come on to him before he pushes her away. She starts giving birth and her stomach splits open, along with the scar tissue over the plate in her head, revealing metal underneath, as motor oil spills out everywhere. Vincent is initially shocked, but then helps her. She dies in childbirth and he tries giving her CPR. When he fails to revive Alexia, Vincent picks up the baby and holds it, and he promises that he'll be there for it. The pregnancy being as weird as imaginable helps drive home the theme of Vincent's stark love. He's so desperate to regain the child that he lost that he willingly takes in a serial killer who got impregnated by a car and never really asks any questions before helping her deliver the baby. The car attraction thing as a metaphor for trauma comes together here, where she does try to express love and gratitude to Vincent by the only way she seems to know how, sexuality, which in this case is totally inappropriate. But wait, that's not all. We also need to point out the commentary on gender identity and fighting with your body. There's plenty of symbolic dysphoria, even when it comes to Vincent and his losing fight against aging as he shoots himself with steroids nightly. Cars turn on and off, bodies can't pause for you. Most of the film's symbols are intentionally multifaceted. How you interpret this film hinges partly on whether or not you see the protagonist as a tragic character, which you could debate either way. But frankly, Alexia doesn't seem like a victim of a tragic home life that spiraled out of control. She seemed like a shitty kid who became a shitty adult who did shitty things and died. If the filmmakers wanted to create a character who was impossible to relate to, and they did a pretty good job. For instance, you sort of feel bad for Alexia's parents. They didn't seem like bad people, just disaffected. Throughout the second half of the film, you find yourself thinking about how she kind of threw away her parents and replaced them. She literally discards her first family with no remorse. It's also messy and conflicting. It's great. Going into this movie blind, and you might have been expecting a neon-drenched, balls-to-the-wall revenge thriller, and instead got a subtle character-driven drama with flawed characters haunted by past trauma. Titane is an obliterating view of a female serial killer's journey through automobile compulsion, fused with the desire for family and human connection, inevitably revving up to a somehow moving conclusion, despite being the spawn of pure uncompromised derangement. You can read the film in a totally magical realism way, or you can read it in a totally psychotic, delusional way, and it doesn't affect the core emotion of the film. One thing is for sure, this is going to make for a very interesting double bill with David Cronenberg's Crash, which, if you haven't seen, you should check it out immediately. Thanks for watching, guys, and don't forget to share your thoughts in the comment section below.
It's about family, and that's what's so powerful about it.